Hey, what's up? What's up? Welcome to another episode of the MT Agroecological. My name is Thomas Malunda. So before I get started with today's topic, today is my birthday. Yeah, so I'm super grateful to God for the life and the year that I'm adding. So yes, we are back at MT Agro Eco Farm on Bussy Island. You can hear the birds sing. It's a very beautiful place. You know, there's a lot of calm, serenity here. So in the future, I'll be opening up MT Agro Eco Farm. I hope that you watching me will come and check it out because it's a brilliant experience on the waters, surrounded by nature, and of course when you come to the farm you'll be seeing better farming practices. So today I'm still in the perennial section, some section where I was the previous time when I was recording the episode on soil and water conservation. I hope you still remember that, whatever insights I shared. If you have not checked it out, please just go type MT Agroecological, search for it. You're gonna be able to watch and learn. So today, like I said, I'm in the perennial section once again, and I'm in a section which is a bit farther from where I was last time. Last time I was standing somewhere at the end, but today I'm standing at the other side of this particular section. But still, things that I showed you last time are far behind me. There is the forest. There is a section there. If you can see before the forest, there's a section that we've preserved there to have our animals. So it will be the livestock section. And of course, where I am, like last time, there are bananas, there is coffee, some holes like this one. The banana plant is just coming up. And of course, we've done some refilling, gap filling, because there are particular sections where some of our plants didn't come out, so a few of them, so we've replaced those. So that's why you can see a hole like this one. The plant has not yet come out like you see in the rest of the garden, but it's coming and it will be out soon. So it's a beautiful intercrop, and of course you can see beans, lines of beans down. They are working as a cover crop, and you can see some mulch on the side. So basically that's what's happening in this particular section of the farm. So if you have not yet subscribed our channel, I remind you to please go ahead, click on that subscribe button such that you are notified every time when we release an episode like this one. One thing I should tell you is that on MT Agroecological, we are here to educate. So it is knowledge being disseminated. So if at all you are turning on MT Agroecological, you need to have your pen and a book, because we are learning. Okay, learning has transitioned from going to class. Currently you can sit at the comfort of your home, go to YouTube, type in MT Agroecological and watch me, Thomas Malunda, deliver knowledge to you for free of charge. Where else are you gonna find that? So yeah, I hope if you haven't, you go ahead and subscribe. So today I want to talk about another very interesting and important topic in agroecology, and that is soil fertility management. So when we speak about soil fertility, what are we talking about? So let me start from the basics. Fertility basically is about nutrients, and nutrients are those elements that the crop, like the bean, like the bananas, like the coffee, need to grow. So we have several nutrients, and they're usually categorized into two. We have what we call the macro or major nutrients. Why are they called macro or major? Is because they are needed in major or large quantities by the plant. Okay, so that's where nutrients like nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, calcium fall. Okay, so major or macronutrients are those that are needed in high quantities by the plant. That's the first category. Second category is called micro or minor nutrients. So those ones are needed in small quantities. Okay, nutrients like molybdenum, manganese, iron, so such are minor or micronutrients. So when we speak about nutrients, basically that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the elements that are responsible for bringing up a plant. For example, the bean that I'm standing close to, for it to grow from the point where we put in the seed in the soil to where you see it currently, there are nutrients that are needed. There are nutrients that are required for root development, those required for vegetative growth, those required for, when I look at these beans, they are starting to move into the reproductive stage. Okay, so when they get to that stage, they need a particular nutrient. And then when the bean pods are being formed, there are particular nutrients that are needed. So at every particular stage, there is a nutrient needed. Okay, so the composition of those nutrients in the soil is what we call soil fertility. I hope we are together to this point. Like I said, on MT Agroecological, you gotta make sure that you have a pen and a book, because I'm delivering content, I'm delivering knowledge to you. So you gotta make sure that you can note these things down. Go back home if you're not watching from home, or go back to your farm and read, internalize, and put into practice. Okay, so basically that's what we refer to when we talk about soil fertility. So on the farm, how can we manage it? How can we make sure that our soils have nutrients? Or how do we make sure that our soils are fertile? Okay, based on what I've said, when we say that soil is fertile, what we're talking about is that soil has nutrients. It's very possible for the soil to have nutrients, but when those nutrients are not accessible to the plant, now I'm getting technical. I don't want to go so much there, but there are some particular conditions of the soil which can make a fertile soil non-productive. So usually soil fertility and soil productivity are confused. I usually hear people speak, I go to some conferences, sometimes I'm watching YouTube and I hear a person speaking soil productivity, but when you hear the context in which they are speaking, they're talking about fertility, okay? Or they're speaking about soil fertility, but when you hear the context in which they're speaking, they're talking about productivity. What's the difference between fertility and productivity? I've told you what fertility is. It's basically nutrients in the soil. Soil productivity, on the other side, are conditions in the soil that enable the crop to grow. Okay, so soil fertility is one of the components that make up soil productivity. There are others like soil organic matter, the water in the soil, soil moisture, the pH of the soil. So all those things make up what we call soil productivity. Okay, in other words, you would say that soil productivity is the ability of the soil to support crop growth. Crop growth is not only supported by nutrients in the soil, there are other things that need to be in that soil for it to support crop growth. So that's why you find that there are soils where when you do a soil test, you find that they are rich in nutrients, but when the crops are not coming up. So when you do a deep dive into why that is happening, you'll find that there are conditions like pH probably, which are making the soils fix the nutrients, hence making them inaccessible to the plants. Okay, I'm speaking some complex terms there, but I'm trying as much as possible to keep it simple. Okay, so there is a difference between soil fertility and soil productivity, and that is it. So today I mainly want to talk about soil fertility and then link it to productivity. I hope we are together at this point. So I say that fertility, those are nutrients in the soil, and there are two categories: major or macro, and minor or micro. When we talk about maintaining of soil fertility in the soil, there are numerous approaches we can take, especially in agroecology. One, and the ones that we've used on this farm, is leveraging of manure, animal manure. So these holes that you see where our bananas are, where our coffee is, before planting of this coffee and bananas, we put their manure. We applied manure, garden manure mixed with wood ash. Then we mix it with topsoil, put it in the soil. Put the coffee and bananas in there, then added the subsoil. So we used manure at the start. Manure has a wide range of nutrients in it, though they are in minute quantities, but they are in there. Okay, so manure alone may not be sufficient to bring these crops the way you see them. You may need additional sources of nutrients. So on the farm here at our MT Agro Eco Farm, what we use besides the manure are other organic fertilizers. On this farm, we are not using synthetic fertilizers. Okay, so we are using other organic fertilizers. I'm going to talk about them shortly, but they all have a particular principle that they follow, and that principle is the nutrients that we need for the crop should be in the fertilizer. Okay, and usually when we are talking about soil fertility, there are 4 R's that we are talking about. One is the right source. So you need to make sure that when you want to apply fertilizer or a nutrient, you're getting the nutrients from the right source. Okay. 2, right place. When you are applying fertilizer or nutrients to the soil, you need to make sure that you place the nutrients in the right place. When we are applying, for example, on the bananas, we put the fertilizer around. We don't put on the banana plant. We put around. Okay, around 5 centimeters, 10 centimeters away from the stem. So away from there, such that the roots down there can go and pick that food. Okay, so the first one I've said, right source. Second, right place. Third is right time. So fertilizer needs to be applied at the right time. If you don't do that, chances of the nutrients in the fertilizer being accessed by the plant reduce. Okay, and then finally, right quantity. So when we are applying, we need to make sure that we apply the right quantities on the plant. Okay, so these are the things that we need to look out for when we are trying to feed nutrients to our plants by leveraging fertilizers. So I was saying that there is a principle that these fertilizers are built on, and those are the ratios of the nutrients, mainly the major or macronutrients. I presume you looking at me have come across something called NPK, right? Actually, when you go to the market, people will say, oh, I want NPK for my garden. I want NPK. Then you ask them, what is NPK? They got no idea. So NPK is basically initials of the macro or major nutrients. N is nitrogen, P is phosphorus, K is potassium. So when you go to buy fertilizer for your farm, depending on where the plants are, you need to make sure that you're getting a fertilizer that has the right quantity of the nutrient you need. How do you know that? When crops are at root stage, they need phosphorus mainly. Phosphorus is responsible for root growth. Okay, when they begin growing and they begin getting the leaves, like you see these beans, like you see the bananas, they need nitrogen. Nitrogen is responsible for vegetative growth. When they go beyond that, flowering stage, they need more of calcium. And then when they go into the fruiting stage, they need potassium. So depending on the stage at which you're buying the fertilizer for your farm, you need to make sure that you look at those ratios. If you find NPK 001, that means that the N in the fertilizer is 0. So that's the nitrogen is 0. The P is 0. The K is 1. So if at all your plant, like the ones here, are in vegetative stage and you get such a fertilizer which has NPK 001, that means that it's not going to work. Why? Because you've got a fertilizer that does not have the required nutrient for your crop to grow vegetation. Are we together to that point? I hope so. Like I said, I repeat, please get a pen, please get a paper, note these things down. Because it's a lot of content that I'm putting out for you. It may be new in your ears. Probably you've been seeing these things on bags of fertilizer, but you didn't know what they meant. So today I'm breaking it down for you. And the overall thing I'm trying to bring for you is understanding how to maintain the fertility of your soils agroecologically. So I'm explaining the ratio NPK, which is usually the fertilizers that we buy. For the guys who do synthetic farming, those bags that they buy, you know, in Uganda there are companies like Yara, ETG, Grain Pulse. So those people sell fertilizers that have NPK on them, and then there are numbers for each and every letter. But also in the kind of farming that we do, the agroecology kind of farming, that same principle applies. Let me show you. So you see this here. So I mentioned that manure alone may not be enough. So on the farm at the moment, we use some other fertilizers. But this is an organic plant fertilizer. This. We buy this from a company called, where are they? Not seeing. So we get these from the Permaculture Resource Center. They're the guys who produce and package this. But when you look at this package, it has the composition down here. It has N, it has P, it has K. So there are numbers there. So for example, when you look at N, there is 4.34. Then P has 43.2. Then K has 1.5. So we usually use this as a base of fertilizer. I'm gonna mention what base of means, but we apply it around the plants, around our coffee, around our banana plants. This, it's an amendment that we use in addition to the manure. Okay, manure is not easily gotten. Of course, like I said, far beyond me, we have a section that we are reserving for livestock. When we have livestock on the farm, it will be easy for us to get that manure, apply into our fields. But at the moment we don't have. So what we are using is, besides the manure that we buy, we also use this. But the principle I was explaining of NPK is here. This is an organic fertilizer, it has NPK. So the principle still applies, depending on where your plant is. So this one has a component of nitrogen, which is responsible for the vegetative growth. It has a component of phosphorus, a lot of it. So root growth, which is key at this stage of the bananas and coffee, this would be very effective. It has a component of K, very little, but it's there. So we can apply this throughout because it has those different nutrients that are needed by the plant. I hope you're still together. So this is one example. The second one is this here. So this is a foliar fertilizer. It's called Jimusa foliar fertilizer, and it's manufactured by Memago Agroecology Ventures Uganda Limited. So these guys are also agroecologists. And when you look at the nutrient composition, so always when you are buying fertilizer for your farm, make sure you check the nutrient composition. Sometimes when I'm moving around, I hear people saying, hey, this thing is gonna work for you. And I'm asking, what is the nutrient composition? They're like, don't worry about that. Just know it has, sulfur, it has manure, it has, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Okay, so make sure that when anybody is selling you a fertilizer, the question you ask first is, what is the nutrient composition? Okay, And of course, that nutrient composition will tell you if at all you need to take that plant to your farm, depending on where your crops are or not. So the composition in here, yes, so the ratio in here is NPK 4:13:11. So this means that the nitrogen concentration in this fertilizer is 4%. The P, which is phosphorus concentration, is 13%, and the K, which is potassium, is 11. So meaning this particular fertilizer will work best for us still at this stage. Like if we want to get phosphorus, of course it also has the potassium, which is good for the fruiting, but it has a lot of phosphorus and a lot of potassium. So nitrogen is a bit little in it. So if you want to boost vegetative growth, this may not be a fertilizer which will do more of that. This will help you when you are targeting leaf growth and fruit development of your plants. So I've mentioned this is a foliar fertilizer, and initially I mentioned that this one is a base soil fertilizer. What does that mean? So I mentioned that the 4 R's of fertilizer application or fertility management, there is one called right place. So the ability of the plant to access the nutrients you're giving it is dependent also on where you put the fertilizer or the nutrients. So some fertilizers are designed to be placed at the base. So this is to be put at the base. That's where the word base soil comes from. This is meant to be sprayed on the leaves. That's where the word foliar comes from. Foliar comes from foliage. So you're targeting the leaves, foliar. You're targeting the roots down there, basal. So those are the different approaches which can be used. So I hope that is clear. You've understood the ratios, which is a crucial principle in understanding these sources of nutrients that we bring to the farm. I mentioned that on MT Agroecological farm, we have used manure. We use these amendments which we get from reputable agroecology players who make such. Of course, in the future, we hope to be making those here, but the moment we are getting, because our farm is still at the stage where it's being set up. The other component that we are setting up in the farm is what you see here close to me, this tree. This tree is called Gliricidia. Okay, so Gliricidia is a leguminous tree. It has the ability to fix nitrogen into the soil. It fixes a lot of biomass in the soil, and even these leaves here that you see, they have nitrogen into them. So there is research that has been done and studies where farmers actually just get these leaves, bury them near the plant, and the plant comes up. So we don't have these accidentally in our farm. Actually, we planted a number of them, but some of them have not come out well, so we are going to add in more. But there are quite a number in different sections. Our aim is to make sure that wherever we have a banana plant, we have coffee, between here we should have a Gliricidia tree. So it's going to help us with fixing of nitrogen, but also to help with shade. You know, coffee loves shade. For it to grow well, there is a percentage of shade it needs. So this is going to help with that. So we have the Gliricidia doing that. On the borders of our farm, we have planted there Tithonia diversifolia. We planted there Tithonia. So Tithonia is very good when making plant teas. Plant teas are, fertilizers which can also be used. Also when making compost, it's a very good ingredient. So we've deliberately planted Tithonia on the borders. We hope to use it in the future. And of course the beans, these are cover crops, leguminous, still fixing nitrogen in the soil. So basically, as MT Agroeco farm, these are different interventions we are using to ensure that we have nutrients in the soil.